Oh, yeah, red.
Brown. No,
Yes.
this is actually, this
Better.
suits your skin tone.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, thank
You
you.
ask me.
I'll keep it.
Yes,
I'll keep
it's,
it. Thank you.
and it is all yours.
You have it. I was just going to say you have it. It's yours.
It's all yours. Trust me, people.
Absolutely.
No artificial here.
No artificial here. It's
I
all
love. I
mine.
think I prefer this color. The tone suits your
It's
skin
subtle.
tone. No, it's not even about subtle. So urban suits your skin tone compared
Okay.
to the wine
Makes
color.
you warm.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's really nice.
Well, you're telling me I was boring, so I wanted to go a bit crazy at the time.
This is
With
really
the red. Nama, how are you? Thank you first of all for bailing us out.
I've done. You should see the joy.
I was so shocked when I saw her because I was already planning that me and Issy were going to be gisting today. Until she showed up. How are you? How these days you have companies that, if, for instance, if you want to pay your rent, they pay they pay to your landlord, then you begin to pay them on a monthly basis based on your earnings, right? I said, wow, that's quite interesting. You know, so how well are we doing with what's it called, the culture of credits, right? So I thought it would actually be nice, because the only things that I know about credits are maybe you're buying your electronics in the house. Even at that,
Consumer
they
loans.
stopped it at some point because it's no longer happening. Then your consumer loans for cars, generators, and all of that. But you know, breaking it down all the way to rents and all of those things, that would go a long way.
That's
because
interesting.
right now, as the economy is, a lot of things are really tight. So any way you can release that burden for yourself, and so that you're not pressured to just go and look for the bulk money. You know, since we really do not have that culture of mortgage in this country, you know, so this would actually be nice. So I just thought, you know what, let's have a conversation around
that.
Yes, how can we, you know, encourage more
And
credits?
develop
Yes,
more.
build on our credit culture in Nigeria. So that's the conversation tonight. And here's what we found as today's quote: when you pay cash for everything, your credit score becomes irrelevant. You know, so Nigeria rose about 15 places in the World Bank during doing business report 2020 to 131st position out of 190 countries surveyed. And this means that Nigeria has advanced by 38 places over the last 3 years since 2016. And when it was the 169th on the global ranking, over this period, World Bank recognized Nigeria as one of the economies with the most notable improvement in doing business. Of all the 10 doing business indicators, the getting credit criteria or category had the best ranking, even as its global ranking dropped, you know, in the 2019-2020 report to 15th alongside countries like Canada and Georgia. Now, Okwe Adeoye is here to discuss improving the credit culture in Nigeria. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. All right, you're still watching Ways Now. On February 16th each year, National Almond Day recognizes the versatile and healthful almond. This delicious nut is native to the Middle East and thrives in warm, dry climates with mild winter. The day celebrates the benefits and uses of almond, whether you are eating them by themselves, using almond milk, pasta, flour, butter, oil, or meals. Almonds offer a very delicious flavor along with many healthy benefits. Almonds are one of the most heart-healthy foods on the market, packed with vitamin E, magnesium, and fiber. So, it's Almond Day, people. Almond has been saving my life since 1950. You know, I am lactose intolerant.
Yeah, you said so.
I tried coconut milk. It wasn't working for me. It was too oily for my taste. But almond does me well, but the challenge is the thing is expensive.
It hurts.
So when I'm eating my cereal, I'm
You're thinking
calculating.
of the money.
So if I have somebody that can give me almond on credit, I'll be paying small, I will take it. You know, so almond milk is quite expensive. And you know, the sad thing about the thing is because of the epileptic power situation,
Yeah.
diesel is high. So we now in our home we try to
Rationalize.
ration the timing for the diesel gen to come on. So if the fridge is not working, almond, if you open it,
It's
so at some point I have to be drinking every day, if not it goes bad. So you have to be careful. But it's a really, really good.
Yeah.
I
I
take
love
the
the
nuts.
nuts.
I love the nuts.
I love the nuts.
I take the milk,
fact,
I take the nuts, I
that's
take everything
probably
almond.
one of the few nuts that I can tolerate. I
Really
don't do
nice.
too well with groundnuts, but almond, cashew, those are my favorite. Pistachio.
I can
Those are
tolerate
the-
all the nuts.
How you take no, my darling?
All
It's already that
bring it
granite.
on. We
We see the pimple, we continue.
Everyone else in my house, I mean, is into groundnuts, but I'm not very.
No, I mean not person.
Very
Any
good at it.
nut I take actually.
So
I'm
please,
not
now
discriminating.
you know, you can
Send-
almonds. You can send me some.
All right, so who are we starting with? Let me
Okay.
start because Norma, I don't think you were able to quickly rustle up a story for.
Well, I did have something that I heard in the news that
Okay,
was
which
quite
one?
disturbing.
Yeah.
And it was, well, you know, when you were talking about credit and how difficult things are in society,
Yeah.
I remember the story that I heard in the news this morning about a young man who went to the filling station to get fuel.
Oh my, I heard that.
So, you know, somebody else tried to beat him, maybe because they felt his car was bigger or whatever.
A mopo truck, actually.
And he was trying to get fuel, and suddenly he
got upset.
He got upset.
Frustrated.
He got some fuel.
Kegs.
and
And poured on
And
himself.
put it on
and he
himself.
said
He was
light
going to
it.
set everyone on fire, as he's going to set himself and probably as many people that are
He
around
was
with
really
him.
frustrated.
mental
It
health.
was, it's, you know, it really tells you the state
State
of
of our
things
mental
in the
state
country.
right
This
now.
is not the first. The other day, there was also an episode where somebody actually lit himself on fire and he died. And this is the second. And only God knows how many more that are going on that we don't know. So it's really, it's a state of emergency that we are in right
You
now.
know, it was a mobile police truck trying to double cross. You know how they've been in the queue for a very long
Exactly.
He said he had been
Yeah.
in the queue since 3
time.
a.m.
So when the guy came and it was almost like they were going to serve him, at that point the guy lost it and he poured the fuel all
Someone
over
had
his
to
body.
beg him.
They kept on
They
begging
gave,
him, so they now
gave him,
eventually
I think,
gave
2
Saul
gallons or
his
something,
fuel.
and sorted out his fuel just so that he
Interesting.
Does
doesn't.
that mean that Nigerians don't understand, you know, the normal process of doing things?
No,
instead of
no.
us
Is it
like
just
to
that?
and, you know,
Is it just that? Of course,
no,
this
I'm
is
talking
not the
about
first
his
time.
reaction.
No, no, no,
You know,
no, no,
if he
no, no,
hadn't,
no.
even if he hadn't,
If he
tried
had
to
not
lit
displayed that
hims-
madness,
to
yes.
try to lit himself up, I'm sure they would have said, "Oh, the Chris." leave him
Everybody
there,"
is
you know.
trying to get
But
ahead,
it's
however,
crazy.
whether it affects someone else or not.
Okay, Isi, your story is linked to fuel as well.
Oh
so let's
yes,
hear it.
it is, and it's still bordering on how much Nigerians are suffering. And this is from CAN, the Christian Association of Nigeria, basically, and they said that, you know, Nigerians are currently feeling the pangs and the pains of fuel scarcity currently. Sorry, scarcity, not scarcity. Scarcity in Nigeria currently. So we know what you've already given us a scenario of what is currently going on. Aside from that, the mental health of all Nigerians currently, we are already stretched
It's hard
beyond,
as it is.
beyond boundaries right now. We are about to snap. We are getting close to that
Don't worry,
aspect.
I don't need to snap. I'll just
And-
stay home next week.
And it's so excruciating to the extent that look at the time you waste on the queue, manpower, whatever you were supposed to
productivity.
do, lost productivity, and you now come out and you now go into traffic.
And spend
bored-
all that
I'm
fuel
bored
that
of
you
the fuel.
spent hours trying to get.
What a life.
Tell me,
Let me
why
move
wouldn't
on.
you be mentally drained?
Oh
Just
wow,
tell me
what
why
a
you
life.
won't be
Flutter
mentally drained.
wave. Interesting. I'm super happy for them. I saw it and I was really excited. According to Financial Times, Nigeria Flutter Wave reaches $3 billion in terms of valuation. So now it has put Flutterwave as the most valuable startup company in the continent of Africa.
Let's see the
So
unicorn.
kudos to them. We've been following Flutterwave. It's like as if I have a share there, but you know. Kudos to them, and I'm super excited, you know, for them. And I hope this brings bigger and better things for them and other fintech companies, like them.
It
And
was about 2 or 3 years ago they were recognized as the unicorn.
it was. I think it was last year, or it was
Just
either
2 years
2020
ago.
or it was either 2020 when they were when they became a unicorn.
Amazing.
All right, so I have another interesting video I'd like to play. I found it so touching online. I saw it today, and if they can just play that video, I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, artist now. Oh, man. You know who? I've been I don't believe. I did now. Oh, artist now. Oh, man. You know who?
All right, for those wondering what that video was, it was University of Jos, the alumni.
Yes.
They actually reunited with their former classmate Hilary Mina Bellem, who became mentally unstable. I think they said he was defending his.
He was just about to go in for his defense for his master's
degree.
yes.
So they have checked him into a Port Harcourt treatment center. Hopefully, by God's grace, they are keeping their fingers crossed that he will come out and he will be a lot more better. I would really, really want to know why. Was it the pressure of the defense for his master's program? Was it the pressure on reading? What would have caused it? Was it drugs? Because a lot of people, I know in school then, a lot of people would say they have to take marijuana because it helps them
retain memory, retain good memory.
And in that, as they take, some of those people in that process also get completely bonkers because the thing goes to a different pipe in the head.
Absolutely.
So but I mean it was really touching when I saw it. I said, wow, it was really worth mentioning.
Absolutely.
And that people actually do care about people in this country.
Yes,
right?
and for the fact that they actually went out of their way to actually look for him. I mean, he was supposed to have been in Jos, but they found him in Port Harcourt. So I think there is no end to humanity. We can go as much as saying that things are bad, once it comes back to being humane, it takes nothing to be kind. You never know what the person is the other person beside you is going through. So I think it's commendable what they've done, looking out for the young man. And I'm also thinking, where is the immediate family of this young man as well? Did they leave him to, roam the streets and end up in Port Harcourt or something?
I'm so happy. I mean, it was so touching.
But the key thing is they decided to actually
And you would think that because of the way he's looking, you want to stay far away from him. They were hugging him.
But it's obvious that he's not really deranged because he's
so
able to
they could
interact with
recognize.
them.
So that's what I'm saying.
He's able to interact with
So that's
them.
what I'm saying, that there must have been something that triggered that instability, the mental instability. So it might have been
There
drugs.
are too many factors in Nigeria to have triggered
Almost.
such a state.
Because it was at
For
the eve
someone
of
who
his
is-
master's
Who
degree
is
defense.
who is doing a master's program?
Yeah, so it's not like he's a dullard. I mean, he must have been very brilliant.
That's looking at it logically. If you
know
want
what?
to look at it Nigerianically, to say, oh, they did
The
something
words
to him.
pressed his buttons
that's
in the village.
Why do you guys,
the village
everybody have to
people
take it
actually-
spiritual?
Oh well,
You know what,
Nigerians
let's-
are very religious, so they will always take it down that route.
So
Right?
you have to look at it logically and Nigerianically.
It's true. I didn't even think about that at all. I did. On that note, we'll take a break. When we come back from the break, we want to discuss credit. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for staying with us. The finance and credit system is a key enabler of the other sustainable development goals, particularly in reducing poverty, in giving people dignity. Over the last decade, building inclusive financial systems has become an important objective for policymakers around the world. And this has led to dramatic improvements in financial access globally. Now, currently, access to credit is still a challenge in Nigeria, but the foundation for a sustainable, efficient, and transparent credit system has been laid, and the outcomes, which should not be taken for granted, is beginning to yield fruit in terms of increase in credit, particularly through digital channels. Now, what are your thoughts on the credit culture in Nigeria? Do you think we can improve the culture both as lenders, and as us borrowers, and how do you think we can do that? Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation, send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. All right, so borrowing. I know Isi is not a borrowing. She's not a fan of borrowing money.
Aside from the fact that they say he who keeps on borrowing
goes on sorrowing.
According to the Bible, I have had first-hand experience in it. So anything about borrowing money, I try to abstain from it totally. And I've also seen another aspect of us being credit-worthy, Nigeria. And Nigerians actually credit-worthy. When you're talking to Nigerians, they'll say, oh, give me the money. And for you to get your money back, it becomes a tug of war. So that's another thing you should also, look into.
Consider.
So, yes, consider. So Nigerians are not really credit-worthy. And the interest rate at which we're being given the monies,
It's quite high.
is it friendly?
So
to
that's
our
why
pockets?
I'm looking at it
that's
from
why
both.
you would rather stay away
from it. Yeah, that's
That's
why I'm
where
actually
looking
looking at it from both lenders' perspective. How can they improve on the credit culture? Because if you, for instance, what you've just said about credits, if you look at the interest rates and you say, how can we bring it down so that we have more people borrowing? But Isi, let me ask Norma this question. So if you had 100 million naira and you have a project that you want to embark on and it's going to cost you, let's say maybe 98 million naira, right?
Yeah.
And you have something else that you need to do to sort out maybe some other things, 5 million naira, maybe for rent and all of that. Wouldn't you rather get someone that would ease off the burden of those other smaller things, so you focus your money on the big investment that would eventually bring more money to be able to pay off that loan? Would you not choose that option?
That's a viable option, because I probably have the education to understand how to go about the process of how to go about paying for that
back.
loan.
So you have more focus on how you want to pay back.
Yes. But for a lot of people, and that's where the problem is. A lot of people are not credit worthy because they firstly do not have an understanding about the credit culture, as in how to be able to go about it and how there are opportunities to be able to pay back for those loans. And the second reason is because the culture here has made it in such a way that people are not accountable. People are not made to be accountable. So somebody tells you, oh, I'm going to borrow money, I'm going to pay it, but they are praying for some miracle to happen so that they can pay back the money.
By the grace of God.
And you're not thinking about the opportunities that are there to be able to. So a lot of people don't have that understanding. It makes the lenders, it's impossible for you to be able to do what you really want to do.
And so that's why the lenders will continue to keep those interest rates at very high rates.
So that they will cover their risks.
And also to attract the right kind of...
No, it's not even that. Where I'm going is to cover the
risk
factor.
involved,
Where,
yes.
so if I borrow Norma, Isi, Uwa, so Uwa default, the money for Norma and Isi will cover for me.
So
that's how it works. But let me ask the experts, not me.
That's
Okpe Adeoye has spent 18 years in the technology and payment system in various capacities, including engineering, leading high-performance product teams, and deal sourcing for M&A activities. Most notable is his work helping to birth the grow quick teller and lending services at InterSwitch, Nigeria's largest payment company. He holds an engineering degree from the University of Ilorin and certificates from Lagos Business School and Stanford CPD. Okpe currently serves as a trustee at Open Technology Foundation, helping with advocacy for Open Banking Nigeria initiative. He's also the founder of OnePipe.io, a company building a platform that makes it possible for fintech operators to partner with banks and large corporates. And he's joined us live via Zoom. Hi, Okpe. Thank you for joining us. Can you hear me? If you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud.
All right, now I can hear you loud and clear as well. Thank you so much for joining us. So you heard the conversation and the banter about credits. It's quite interesting that everybody, the only reason a lot of Nigerians do not take money is because they are always thinking, how do I pay back? Right? How do I pay back? How do I pay back? But we know that credit is one culture that, if you look at the Western world, is what they live by, they stand by, and that's how come they're able to reduce some kinds of burdens from their citizens, rather, right? Unlike Nigeria, where everything is cash driven, right? You want to buy a car, you're thinking of getting the complete money, so you buy the car. You want to buy a house, you're thinking of getting the complete money. You want to do anything, you're thinking of getting the complete money. So I was just wondering, how do we even start to build credit systems, right? How do we build the culture of credits in Nigeria? What do you think the biggest challenge would be, in building that credit culture in Nigeria?
I mean, if you don't mind, I'll take it back just a little bit.
Okay.
At the core of credit is that if you take Okwe, for instance, Okwe's salary is 100 naira. Okwe is likely to remain paid employment for the next 30 years. You extrapolate for how much Okwe will make in income over the next 30 years. You can do that. Once you have that figure, you can take that figure and say this is Okwe's assumed credit worthiness over the next 30 years. Then there's something you can do. You can advance in that money to do projects that can help him make even more money as he continues his 30-year journey. So, in practical terms, 100 naira times 12 months times 30 years, I can take that money, I can start some other business or some project now that takes my income up from 100 naira to 30 effectively. Now, from that 120, I can start to pay back the same loan I took. After some time, I can probably refinance that loan and do it more. So, at a high level, creditworthiness or building a credit culture starts from being able to have predictable income, no matter how you slice and dice it. So, if I'm a guy that runs a shop at the corner of my street, I need to demonstrate to a large degree that I always move volumes up to X amount every week consistently, and then someone can calculate what they think my income will be over X period of time. So to build a credit culture, the very first step to me sounds like we need to get people into predictable income to a large degree. And one of the things that make it difficult to have predictable income, or at least have visible, predictable income, is when we always operate with cash. So for example, back to that guy that has a shop on the streets, he takes his income in cash from people that come to buy from him. When the supplier comes to drop supplies, he also pays cash. Now, if somebody wants to advance in credit, how does that person know that their side has a shop? Yeah, that their side has a shop, your income is always 100 naira. You don't know, nobody knows. The only person that usually knows in that case is that supplier that comes to supply goods. Just because at least the supplier knows how much I bring for you, how much you order regularly from me. Now, if I take supplies from, say, 5 different distributors, it becomes even more difficult because only one person will know what to buy from. So, to build a credit culture that can help us, I think the very first step would be get more people into repeatable income, then get some of that income to be visible to lenders and people that want to advance you credit to do even more productive. That's how I see it.
Okay, so I want to just quickly take a follow-up question on this predictable income. Because the economy, the Nigerian economy is very volatile.
Exactly.
Right? So How is that impacting? Because you see the predictability right now, it's not anywhere. There's so much uncertainty in people's income, right? So if we say that the first thing is to be able to predict, to say, okay, this is it. I get that part of, you know, like for instance, the underbanked. I know that a lot of people started going into the culture of banking their daily sales, especially business owners, because they now realized that at some point the commercial banks were really focused on growing SMEs. So they were making sure that they were, putting in their daily income so they could track and trace and say, okay, you know what, I think this person, based on your sales, your revenue and everything, I can give you 5 million naira to increase your turnover and all of that. So that was possible. But the predictability now is where I have a problem with. You know, how can this work? Because the economy is actually quite volatile.
Yeah, so predictability is a function of time, nothing else. If I made $1 million last month and made 900K the previous month and made 1.2 million the other month, there's a sequence or duration of time we can go through to which we can come to a conclusion that this person's income is 850K, believable to an extent. So it's always a function of time. How far back are you willing to go? Then the fluctuation you can't really explain, or the shock that you think will come to this individual or company or SM, is what you then price as risk. So I look back at the shock for 3 years. And consistently, this shop has been turning over between 100 naira and 1K. Maybe it's always going between 100 naira, but it's 100 naira to 1 at the end of it. I can safely say, I think this guy will make 120 naira every month for the next 5 years. But I don't trust that he will not have a shock event. All right, so I will discount that by 2 years, for example, so I can predict this for 3 years. Then there's still a risk, and I price that risk at a particular percentage. So predictability is really just a function of time. How far back are you able to go? Then the shock effect that you don't really understand or can't account for is what you price into this.
Okay. So you've talked about predictability, and we all understand that Nigeria has a very volatile environment. And we know currently that the interest rate in Nigeria also plays a huge role in this, because it's about, according to the inflation. If the interest is high, the inflation is high, of course the interest rate will go higher. I do stand corrected if I'm not correct. So in this context, we also have the ICA, which is the Institute of Credit Administration. Do they have a role to play in, you know, maintaining a balance between the pricing of the interest rates in Nigeria currently? What's the role in this?
Okpe just told you now that the guy factors in the risk factor, and I think those are part of what increases that rate. Problem.
Exactly. And to take you back, I think ideally you would divide credit into 2 types: formal credit and informal credit. Many of all the regulations and rules and guidance bodies that you can speak to are mostly around formal credit. There's really so much more going on in informal credit than formal credit. And because it's informal, almost just like that cash that you can't track, there's only so much regulation you can have. You cannot regulate a guy who says, I'm going to supply bread to your shop, I'll come and collect my money a week from now. But you see that bread that I gave to you at 100 naira, because I'm not collecting my money now, I'll give it to you at 110 naira. Where's between that? What will you do? And if that guy takes that bread at 110, then he will sell it at 120. How does he make money? Hence again, they are driving up inflation, etc. So I think, in my view, there's a direct correlation between the pricing of credits at the lowest ends and inflation as relates to our staples and regular items that we all live on. That's my view. And I think the more we can get people into formal credit that is regulated, that potentially has more liquidity anyway, then we can drive down inflation, at least over the mid to long.
Do you have any, would you have any kind of suggestion to how the government or Nigerians can, you know, what are the tools that they can use to drive this concept which you've just given to us, based on the fact that we need to sensitize the individuals or Nigerians on how well they should
Focus on
structured
credit
loans. No, what's the word?
Formal
Improving
loans.
Informal
Informal
loans.
credit.
Informal credit, yes, please.
As a very first step, it will be things like the government's cashless policy driven by the city. For example, if the cashless policy requires you to bank your money, which is effectively what it is, bank your money or you get penalized, then banking your money creates visibility for the business. That visibility for the business then allows formal lenders to approach you with propositions that are useful for you, right? So I think as a very first step, government can have policies that encourages more digitization in different sectors. The cashless policy is one, although I doubt how far into the bottom of the pyramid such a policy can have an effect. So the policy that says you cannot deposit more than 500 per day, for example. How many people really make 500? So that's an example. So maybe such policies can be allowed to get even more to retail levels.
At the
That
grassroots.
potentially, to the grassroots, that potentially can then have a domino effect to other things. Right? So maybe that's one. This example again, this cashless policy is driven by a more longer term plan that the CBN usually has. FSS 2020, they come up with FSS 2030 now. So you take a long-term outlook on the market, you create short-term policies that are in line with that long-term outlook, and this is one of them. Another one is things like, although I'm not totally a fan of that, another one is things like trying to regulate the informal lenders, put some pressure around what pricing could look like, etc. I think in the spirit of free market and free economy, that probably.
But it still seems like a lot of people actually focus more on going back to those loan sharks than going to the official, the formal sector. So, what narrative are they selling to them that makes them feel the need, to go to the loan sharks as opposed going to the structured, formal lenders, right? The structured and the more competent, if you might say.
They don't ask them for their blood money.
But he said, check it now. So I want to take a loan from a formalization. They're going to give a long form that is like 5 pages. I will not fill that form. Then I get my brother to understand the form. What are they saying inside this form? I take it back. And I wait for 3 days for someone to tell me, you don't really qualify, etc. That's just a loan. I just want to go to my hotel and buy a basket or something to say, I will just left and find someone to give me that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I was going to add, because it was that was where I was going, because I'm thinking about the everyday person who does not understand all of that. It still comes back to education. So how are the everyday people going to be encouraged to actually follow these formal setups for credit? What differently can be done to educate the everyday person about the importance of credit culture, being credit worthy, being able to organize your system in such a way that you can have predictable income and qualify? What are simpler methods that can be used so that more and more everyday people can be encouraged into the credit culture?
At the end of the day, examples work. You look less, you see your neighbor who said, I took a loan of 200,000 naira from XYZ. I started business X. Look at me 3 years afterwards. I'm looking. Those examples work. It's the same example that people like betting companies use. Because you know somebody that's won, you think you said you win, so you ban it. This principle can be applied to credit. I'll use a case that I found very interesting. Some lady that had a beer parlor took her very first loan from one of the common loan companies and handled it very well. 2 years later, they went back to visit that woman. She had become a distributor for alcohol. The end. She has gone away from beer parlors and a distributor now. Look at my warehouse. From the very first loan. So one of the things to do is have examples around you people who have succeeded by judiciously using the loans that they got, promote those examples amongst their neighbors and friends that they can see, and you will see the effect afterwards. And then for the individual, for the SME, take your first loan and do well at it. Just take your first loan. That's the way I always see it. Take the very first one and do your absolute best to be proper with that loan that you got. Because for most lenders, whether formal, informal, loan shark, bank, neighborhood cooperative, whatever, the performance, your credit performance is much more even important than your both predictable income. Like you took a loan last year, you paid back consistent. Okay, you took another one this year, you paid back consistent. Someone like me, I went through university on cooperative loans. The end. My mom used to always joke about it. The consumers take their very first loan and treat it well. Then things will go on.
Okay,
I
so
like
let's
the fact
take a
that you
break.
talked about-
Let's take a
okay.
break. When we come back from the break, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You can tweet at us at WadeShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WadeShow. Okay, you're making me feel like I want to have to go and borrow money now. It's like,
Borrow money.
why will you not say that? Is it not your work that you're doing? but I was going to say that, what's the biggest, because I know Issy had a question, but I wanted to just quickly tie into what you were talking about. I mean, when I hear you talk about your mom and how she would paying back the cooperatives and all of that, you know, I've heard that a lot of people that pay back their loans are actually the people, you know, when it comes to, it's all this AMCON stealing. Those are not the people who should be loaning money to, because all these people that are stealing, AMCON is stealing this, is stealing that. When you give loans to those kind of people, they actually have a very bad loan culture. But when you give loans to the market woman that she knows she needs to pay school fees and all of that, she pays back with so much diligence. They do not skip on the timing and all of that. But I wanted to say, what is the biggest challenge that lenders face? Is it a what's it called, an identity problem that the lenders face, or just plain default, people are not ready to pay? Because a lot of times, we've always tied credit problems to the fact that they are not able to identify the customers, proper details. So the way you have your
KYC.
social security numbers
Your
when you're abroad and all
customers.
that, we don't have all of those here.
Yeah.
Is that still a big challenge when it comes to credits in Nigeria?
I think yes. I think when it comes to credits, the problems are many. The problems are many. Identity is one. Everybody will tell you that in the business of credit, there are two ways you assess a possible loan: willingness to pay and ability to pay. So in your example of the AMCON people that get sued, they have the ability to pay, they just don't have the willingness to pay. Because typically, there are no consequences per se. You default on your bank loan, keep speaking English here on the air, someday AMCON will come and save the bank, write off your loan, move on to the next bank and start your next project. Right? So it's always willingness to pay and ability to pay. What you find is that at the lower pyramids of the economy, because willingness to pay could be high, at times, mainly because this person is aspirational. I took a 100K loan and I had a child. Now I have 2 children and I need support for those 2 children. Better I pay off that 100K loan so that I can now borrow 120K to help my 2 children. Something like that. So you may find out that in many cases, at the lower ends of the pyramid, the willingness to pay might be higher. Now, when it comes to ability to pay, that's where the problem starts to come. Inconsistent income, village people will do you bad, events will occur that make it difficult for you to pay. Now, as long as concepts like consequences can be introduced, which is some of the things that many of those sharks do, consequences that tell you that I know you have a problem. I know if somebody in your village does die, but you owe me 20,000. Pay me my 20,000 naira than supporting the person that just died. If there are no consequences to not paying that 20,000, I would rather support my village person. Let loan shark go and deal with his own problems. But if there are consequences, I will find some way to meander around that my late person government, pay off my loan. When I do pay off my loan, I'll get 25K next, right? From that 25K, I will decide to then go take care of the village person or not. So as long as we can create mechanisms around consequences that are acceptable, right, you may find better performance credit portfolios overall. Now, this also leads many lenders to do extreme things. Texting your contacts,
I've been getting all those texts lately.
Yes.
I don't know them.
They've been threatening people as well, telling them or putting obituaries, something like that.
So these are just crude ways of trying to create consequences. In more developed economies, you have like a central credit score that you default on any credit anywhere. Your credit score is taking the lead. That makes it difficult for you to rent a house. You can't buy a car. You can't move to a new neighborhood. A school will not accept you. Etc. So they created a central system of consequences that sort of forces you to be true to the obligations that you have. So if we can find some way in Nigeria, for example, create some central consequence management thing that is humane, people will try. They will try a little harder. But of course, there are also other issues like identity, low income levels, etc. Those ones they are here with us.
So with what you're saying now, where does government play a role? You know, because to create a central system, it will require government to be involved. You know, having a national sort of system that enables people to be identified, whether they are creditworthy or not. So is it the responsibility of the credit facilities, or is it government, or is it a collaboration? What exactly is it?
When it comes to what can government do, I think you are speaking to the wrong guy.
Oh, right.
because my view is always there's always an economic construct that can work faster than waiting for government. So imagine if by some stroke of money, all lenders, formal, informal, cooperative, credit union, whatever, all lenders just agree to share information about their buyer.
Okay.
There you go, that's it. Now imagine that all these lenders today that have NPLs that are over between 5% and 50%, which is terrible. Imagine all of them just agree that we'll just pay a small portion from our interests to know what is inside this central registry of sorts, and we just agree to cooperate. It is so much more powerful. It has economic impact than waiting for someone in Abuja to help us construct something. So when it comes to what can government do, I think you're asking the wrong guy.
All right.
Just, I have this bias for why can't people just organize it?
Makes sense.
Makes a whole lot of sense.
That's so interesting, because just imagine I blacklist. Maybe Unama is a blender. I just
not me, disclaimer.
I'm going to put you in the central system and say, never you loan this money. But I think I like that idea of,
it makes total
it's
sense.
called like collaborating or synergy. You call it whatever you want to call it. But that would definitely, work when it comes to, let's say. So but what I wanted you to just put it, because for people that are watching and they're wondering, why do I need to take a loan? Right? I want you to paint a scenario of what truly, taking some of these credits, building a good credit culture, and taking some of these credits and easing off some of this burden. What does it truly mean for the economy? What does it mean for you as a citizen, your livelihood as a person? What does that mean for you?
I will use a very simple example. A woman that has a small pepper store in the market close to me here. And she just sells pepper and tomato. That's it. Then she notices that people always buy her pepper and tomato and go to the next store to grind it. And she's like, on this my pepper and tomato, I'm making 1K per day. But they say if I have grinding machine, that's the pepper I don't sold. I will charge the same guy
I can make more.
But this grinding machine happens to cost 60K. But I'm making 1K every day. How long will I add up this one?
To be able to buy it.
to buy this condiment. Now imagine that someone says, well, madam, you have been selling this pepper and tomato for how many years in this man? 60K, you make it in like 2 years, no problem. But I take my 60K and buy the grind machine. This woman's income just went from 1K per day to maybe like 2K. She has moved up in life. Multiply that by say 40 million SMEs. Raise the bar on what economic well-being for the average citizen or the country as a whole looks like by just having liquidity. Now let me blow your mind with this. No money, no money, no money. There's capital in the Western world, for example, that is idle, that is wondering why the return on that capital is between 3 to 4%. Meanwhile, here's a woman in Lagos that could double her income by just offering her 60K, and there's 40 million on her. If you could get that capital to travel from the US or Europe to come set these people, the returns are way more than 3% that you're getting in their country.
Right.
I've lifted more people out of poverty. That's some of what drives people that are in this business.
No, but Okwe, you see, so when those kinds of capital come into our country, because I know people that have access to those kinds of loans at 4%, 3%, the percentage still goes high. So back to Isi's question on, the interest still goes higher than that. So it's not maintaining. So what's that factor that makes it go higher?
Risk.
Yes. So it's the risk factor, just the risk factor.
Risk then needs to be priced. Yeah, risk then needs to be.
And it is now priced that high?
It's priced. Like I get the example. 3 of us pay loan. 100K, 100K, 100K. As person will not pay back. My price is like 3%. That's it.
So they will help me pay. For my default, they will pay for my default. So they should. I think us that were borrowing money, we should go and be looking for fellow borrowers and just be flogging them. We just because if we hold ourselves accountable, the interest rate will drop. It's simple.
Well, but a lot of education comes into it because a lot of people don't know. I mean, the way you're breaking it down now, you can only imagine.
I said I want to go and borrow money this night.
The number of Nigerians who have no idea what the benefits are and how it can help them out of seeming financial crisis from day to day, right? So what can we do really to continue to educate people?
Reorient the mind
and reorient people about credit culture.
Examples. Promote those examples, let them be seen.
You must share the stories.
And know that, share the stories. Exactly. People will then know that these things are good.
Hey, Oluwa.
Take a loan today.
We're considering.
So now that you're talking, let me tell you why a lot of people are afraid to take loans. They are afraid because they do not know whether they'll be able to get that. I mean, the predictability of their income. Something can go wrong and they might not be able to pay back. So what then happens? So you as a borrower, if you loan money and you realize that, oh my God, I loaned 500,000 naira, and now I was able to pay back 300,000 until I lost my job. So what should I do to go back to my lenders, and how do I go about that? How do I navigate that? So it's not looking like I want to deliberately default. There is a problem. So how do I go about it? And you as a lender, so how would you make it easy for me, to be able to say, okay, you know what, I will pay you back, but this is how we have to restructure it.
So our lending market is not that mature yet for things like refinancing and things like that, but they do exist. Now, common sense tells this lender, whoever the loan officer is, that I can either just walk away and not pay you the end, or I brought my 2 legs to your shop, my slippers, and I explained to you my problem, and I said, let's restructure my loan. He pays them to restructure it than to have you walk away. That's it. So I don't think there's any lender, be it structured, unstructured, bank, ML, whoever, that you walk into and say, sorry, I couldn't meet my obligation, that wouldn't figure out some way to internally refinance somehow. Because the alternative for them, they are going to just walk away and say, sorry, I saw it. So, in my view, I don't think that's much of a problem. I think it's just that most people, once you find out that you cannot handle it, they just walk away.
I don't know if you've convinced ECO, because ECO is against lending. And you know some churches.
I was actually going to ask him, if you were going to convince someone who wasn't interested in
Taking a loan.
taking a loan before,
Like
with
you,
all
don't
this
say
grammar
somebody,
have
you,
spoken,
tell yourself.
for me, I am still
No,
a
she's asking for
diehard.
someone.
I will not. I'm still a doubting
He's
Thomas.
asking for a friend.
No, I'm asking for myself. I debunk that. So I would say this: if you have to, after all this grammar you've given to us on how to, go about, improving or enhancing the loan culture. If you want to, actually tell someone who is not really interested in everything, give me 2-3 benefits of taking this loans.
You're on the hot seat.
You can grow your hustle. To explode. If somebody's money can save you, that's well. Also, from selling pepper and tomato and adding grinding machine to it. My cash will help you do that. Just pay.
Absolutely. You can I also help you, Okpe? You can also, from the grinding machine, you can also upgrade to either, packaged, ready stew, ready to stew. based on equipment. Because if you buy machines, you can decide to say, you know what, instead of just selling tomato and pepper, when you come, madam, I have the mild pepper, medium pepper, high pepper, blend, ready to just straight to cook your stew. I'm sure they will be willing to buy. But I think we've had a fantastic conversation. We're hoping you come back again. Thank you so much. Yes, I will take a loan. But you have a lot of people to contend with. All these church people that will tell you that I've never taken a loan, there's a culture, there's a religious angle to that.
Goes on borrowing. It's as simple as that. You won't be able to sleep well at night.
So you haven't convinced Issy.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Issy has not understood it yet.
Issy
sees me,
I have.
Okay.
What you need to do is don't borrow to acquire liability.
Oh, definitely.
Borrow to acquire an asset. It's as simple as that.
And make more money.
It's as simple as that.
But
You've done a better job than me.
Thank you so much, Okwe. We had so much fun doing this. We didn't even take message. We apologize on behalf of ourselves. But thank you, Okwe. We've had a fantastic conversation. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Issy. Thank you, Nama. I want to go and borrow money now. All right, so before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram. It's at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, or more importantly, follow all the conversations on social media. Remember to like, share, and invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation as well. Don't be stingy with this information. You need to tell families and friends to watch so you can learn something every single weekday, Monday through Friday. All right, if you missed today's quote, here it is again. When you pay cash for everything, your credit score becomes irrelevant. So try to build your credit score, so you can make more, you can actually upgrade your life, right? Yeah. Building more things and expanding whatever hustle it is that you're hustling. All right, see you guys live at 8 p.m. tomorrow as we bring you another great conversation. Enjoy.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.